Welcome back everyone, and for this video I'm very excited to be opening and reviewing this Taito Artist Masterpiece Plus Frieren figure. This was such an enjoyable anime. I believe it aired last year, if not the year before. Very excited for the second season. This was a pre-order back when it first released on Crunchyroll's website. With the tariffs, I've just found it to be easier to pre-order from there. And so far they've been pretty okay. The box that this figure came in came with a huge dent in it. Thankfully they packed it in a way that the box was not particularly too damaged. There's one small crease on the outside, but it's not something I really care about, especially since this box is completely closed off, similar to prize figures. There's no window for you to view her on the outside, which I'm perfectly fine with, honestly. I honestly wish a lot of figures were like this. That way I wouldn't feel too bad about knocking around their box every now and again, because sometimes when they have the window they just feel a lot more fragile. And I really like that they put a lot of different close-up shots of the figure itself around it. I understand that might not be everyone's cup of tea, just because you're not able to see whether or not the figure you receive specifically is in good condition. Similar to doll shopping, that's kind of a controversy right now in the doll collecting world. A lot of companies really want to do the blind bag thing, and especially with dolls, sometimes the faces come really jacked, so not being able to see the doll you're getting is not good. So, but at least for this figure, I have, for the most part, faith that the company quality control is okay. I think I've had one other Taito figure in the past. I want to say it's that small little Miku figure that I own. The demon Miku figure. I'll have to see. I don't remember. But she does still come in a blister. There's not. Oh, yeah, there is. There's a single instruction pamphlet inside the box. So there we go. And I have read online from people who've already received this figure, she can be a little finicky, especially with that blast of magic coming off of her staff. Wow, she's actually a lot bigger than I thought she would be, which is honestly really cool, but the shelf I was planning to put her in. Here's a close-up look of her face. She's quite pretty. I really like her. I'm sure she's getting washed out on my camera, and from the viewfinder it looks quite pink, but in person she's quite true to color. Her skin tone and everything very much matches the anime. There's a lot of details all over her outfit. She's even got her earrings, which, okay, they're painted matte. I thought they would be like a shiny. But she's even got detail in her fingernails and everything. Really cool. The shiny detail around her outfit. Here's the bottom portion. We've got her skirt, her leggings, her boots, tons of detail, and then this little, I can't remember what this was, magic or water? Really cool. And then here's her staff. So the inside is probably resin or a clear plastic, and then the rest is matte painted, except for some areas like the gold, the glossy finish here. I appreciate how, even though it's all technically just three colors, the gold, the brown, and the red, they did use a different shade of red to indicate the different material this would be, because this would be fabric, this is probably painted wood. Really cool, and especially on such a small scale. That always impresses me with anime figures. Okay, the last thing in the box is her magic, I don't know what to call it, like the effect. It's really cool. A lot of the time with these, they make them dynamic but haphazard. Like it's just a bunch of squiggles or something. But this I like the geometric shape on the front, and then the second layer, like it's two waves of her power hitting. And the plastic is a little more matte on top, and then it has a gradient that goes from teal to blue as it extends to the longer tails. So really cool. That's such a cool piece. And that was pretty much everything in the blister. On the back of it is her base, which I'm just going to go ahead and open off camera because it's quite large. Oh, in addition to her base, of course, how could I forget? There's a little bag back there that contains her twin tails. It's like animals know when you're wanting peace and quiet, because they were not cawing this much before I started filming. Here's one of her twin tails. It's a very similar plastic to the magic piece. It starts off very matte and then gets a little translucent at the ends. That's really cool. And I love the shading. You can see the grays and then it goes into the clear. And then her second twin tail. I appreciate that it's a different shape and then it does the same thing. It's like translucent, but also has a silvery paint job to the end. It's kind of hard to tell. Let me look at it. The slightest translucency, but for the most part it's mainly just that kind of toneless gray or silver, but it's not shiny. Mine does have one defect. I think the painter messed up. He got some of the gray from the top of the hair here at the bottom, but that's not something that really bothers me. Sculpting wise, I think it's really nice, but you can definitely tell with the price range that this figure was. See some seam lines and some areas that aren't the cleanest. Next, she does come with a rod, a support rod for, I believe this is her staff. This supports her staff. And then we have her base. Frieren Beyond Journey's End. I do wish this was a little nicer. I mean, the text matches the text of the show. It's also interesting that it's in English. But I guess they do that whenever they do figures. I don't think I've seen a company really stick to Japanese text. Here's the licensing, says title on the back. That's pretty much it. It's like it's a matte finish on top and then clear at the bottom. Or not clear, glossy. But it's standard base. Not much special. Okay, I think I did this right. I did struggle with this. In all fairness, I was trying to do this in front of the camera. I didn't want to stop recording in case I noticed some things. And I definitely noticed a few things, and I understand why some people had issues with this figure, or at least assembling her. Now that she is assembled, she is so cute. I love her. I myself love Frieren, but I don't like having figures of the same character too much. I say as I have like 3-4 Hatsune Miku figures. But I was definitely waiting for that one Frieren figure that I really liked, and I would be willing to pay what they were charging for her. She was not very expensive. I think she was like, what, $30, $40? She may have been 50, I don't remember. Point is, she was very cheap, and for what they were offering as far as the prototype pictures, I was very willing to pay that price. Going through Crunchyroll, they didn't really charge you the tariff costs. You didn't have to worry about it. And it's shipping from US warehouses, so you immediately get a tracking number once they ship it to you. Overall, I had a nice experience pre-ordering her from Crunchyroll, with the exception of the fact that I had to update my payment information, and that was a little confusing. But other than that, no complaints there. The figure itself, you can definitely tell in certain areas that she is more of a discount or budget figure, just in the sense of some of the paint job is not the cleanest. There's like one scuff right here on her sleeve. It's really minimal. I don't know if you can see it, but yeah, very minimal. Like there's some imperfections in the painting, especially around the hem of her dress. I think this in general is just like a sculpting error. It kind of looks like however they connected these two pieces, it just didn't connect all the way through. So you see this gap in the sculpting, and that's not even a paint job thing, it's a sculpting thing. So you can definitely tell that it's not the highest quality scale figure. I don't even know if she has an official scale. She's amazing. Like if you ignore all that other stuff, considering her price, she looks stunning. Her sculpting is really well done despite, you know, the small little imperfections. She is very impactful. Like if you put her on your shelf, she's gonna make quite the impact. You're immediately drawn to her pose, to her expression, which I really love. I really held off on Frieren figures because I feel like a lot of the sculptors were not catching that perfect expression on her. They were very much leaning into the cute and more generic anime moe vibes. I think Frieren has a very specific look to her that's somewhat mature but also still very pretty and young looking. She has a very round face, especially in the anime, and I don't feel like a lot of her figures capture that. This one, I think they did a good job. She has very noticeable rounded cheeks, while still having that more mature, slightly emotionless look to her, but not completely emotionless, so you can tell she has some personality. I love the flowing of her hair movement. The hair in particular is where you can kind of see some of the like sculpting failures. Not really failures, but you know, they don't care too much about hiding seams, hiding where certain parts come together to make it look a little more seamless. Some of the smaller strands have some imperfections. I definitely recommend wiggling the twin tails in there because if you notice as I was putting her together, majority of the time if a figure needs assembly, they have these little pegs and each peg corresponds to the specific shape of the hole on the figure itself. Normally they just slide in there pretty well, or if you push a little bit it'll slide in, but for her definitely, in almost every single part of her as I was assembling her, I really had to wiggle back and forth to have it slide in there. So don't force it. You might break something if you force it. Wiggle it back and forth and it will slide in. Now the staff was interesting. I did not read the instructions because I figured assembling her was pretty straightforward. But the staff actually does slide into her hands. That's how you put it on her. And the bottom part, camera over there kept wanting to focus on Deku. But yes, her staff does come apart here at the end. But I was very apprehensive about pulling. I tried to pull a couple times and it wouldn't come out. So what I did is I stuck my nail in there and it popped off. So it may just be the fact that they painted it together and some of the paint is still adhering to itself. But try that. Stick something in there, something thin, not sharp, that can kind of pull the two pieces apart, and it should pop off fairly easily. From that point on, it's fairly easy to slide it into her hands. The holes they provided are wide enough to slide it in. This particular piece as well, part of the staff, is made of a different type of plastic. I don't know how to describe it. It's just a very different type of plastic that you see more in manufactured like stationery. So it does feel sturdy. It does bend a little bit to give you some give, but I could tell that if I pulled just a little too hard, it was going to snap. So do still be careful while doing that. Once again, my strategy to adjust it was twisting it so that I wasn't necessarily pulling on her hands. If you just twist it, it's fairly easy to slide them in and out. Now this part you'll see it's not all the way in, and that's because I think I'm going to have to do that off camera because it's really something you have to be very careful about. Again, wiggling it back and forth allowed me to push it in a little bit, just not all the way. And with the camera in front of me, it just was too awkward for me to do all the way. So I'm going to do that off camera before I put her on my shelf. But I would say that's the hardest part to get in there. It was the two different types of plastic really like to adhere to each other. But the staff is very cool otherwise. Lots of detail, very accurate to the anime. And as you can see, there are some imperfections in the sculpt. But I do love that this part of the staff is this clear plastic or acrylic, not sure what they used. But it gives a really cool effect. Makes her look a little bit more 3D and not just the kind of typical matte finish of prize figures. Especially with this amazing magical effect, particle effect, whatever you want to call it. Really cool. Moving on to her sleeves, you can kind of see where the more prize figure as sculpting is. You can see some seam lines, some stuff inside her sleeves, but I don't think it's too big of a deal. I mean, the fact that they still included all the detail from her costume is great. Her collar has all of her detail. She's got her earrings, and they're sculpted dynamically as well to match the rest of her pose. And then obviously her skirt, very accurate, very simple but accurate. Then we move down to her bottom half. She's got her leggings, which do have some sculpting in them, as well as her boots. I love the pose. Paint job is pretty simple and matte, but it does the job. And then we have this more, I think it's the water effect under her feet. It's definitely a different plastic, not the same type of plastic as this one. And if it is, it's a different paint job. It has more of that glossy finish, similar to the free figures that I have. They have water particle effects under their feet as well. And the plastic feels very similar, which is nice because it's a sturdy plastic. I didn't really have any issues putting her on there, but it is strong, so you know that she'll be sturdy on this. She is attached to it, so it's not like you have to slide her in there through some pegs, which is nice. And then the final thing we have is the stand for her staff. I'm assuming they anticipated this is probably going to be a figure that leans over time, and that's why they include the support. It looks a little bit jarring, but it's not too bad. It's quite thin. It is metal as well, which is really nice. On the picture, it looks different. It looks like you're supposed to put it on this gold piece, so I'll adjust it once I stop filming. Or maybe once I take some like turntable shots, I'll adjust it so she looks like the picture. But I do appreciate that is included, because the staff is heavy. With this little particle effect and the top half, it is very top heavy. Before I put it on there, it was kind of leaning forward a bit, and it's pushing her forward too. I didn't notice that. So I'm happy that they included that. For some people, it may be a little of an eyesore. I don't really mind it, especially if you plan to display her kind of the way the promo pictures did. This is what she looked like. She still looks amazing. You still see a lot of her her character self behind the particle effect. And this is not too noticeable for me. But yeah, some people were having issues as far as the placement, like it wasn't matching the picture, but I think that's just a matter of adjusting the staff. I think if I slide this a little further back, it'll match the picture, and I'll just readjust like this piece here, just so it's not in the way. That's pretty much all of my thoughts. I'm genuinely very happy to finally have her. I'm so excited to put her on my shelf. I think she's going to go under my action-y anime shelf that has all of the figures that are kind of in dynamic poses, because she just takes up a lot of space. Overall, I would have to say she's probably like 8 inches across. She's a wide girl. She's going to take up a lot of room in your bookshelf. And then obviously takes up a lot of room from front and back as well. Just an overall very dynamic figure. That's kind of what you sign up for when you buy figures like this. You know, stuff is flying everywhere. They're going to need the space to not hit other figures and whatnot. But very happy to own her. I'll leave a link to her in the description. I'm not sure if she'll still be available. She was quite popular, but you never know. I bought her from Crunchyroll, but she definitely was available in the typical shops like AmiAmi and whatnot. I just decided not to go that route this time because of the shipping costs plus the tariffs. It just wasn't worth it. But that's it for my review. Again, great for the price. I think she's really nice. With a little higher end paint job and a little better sculpting, I think she could have easily made a really good scale figure. I hope you enjoyed this review. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video.